Hey guys, this is Dan from Primal RC, and I wanted to introduce you to our new truck. It's called the Mega Truck. It's based on our Raminator 1/5 scale 49cc monster truck that we've had for a couple of years now. This is the new V3 version, and it's also called the Mega Truck because it comes with these new mud tires. And it's a V3 version, which means it's going to have some new upgrades that are also our Raminator. Our new Raminator has also, which will be in another video. Some of the upgrades include an awesome battery box that shows the battery voltage also, and has a window to see the remote kill switch, the red light and the green light through there. So everything's nice and sealed up in there. This truck also is going to have the Mega Shocks, which are even bigger than our shocks that we've had already. Here's the version 1 and version 2 Raminator shock. I don't know if you can see the difference there, but it's a big difference. And then the shaft size, this was a 7mm shaft, this is 10, so I doubt these will be bending like these ones did once in a while. So you got a lot more oil in there, a lot wider body, bigger springs. And also this truck has the new old school truck body, and it looks like a truck from the 70s. I won't say which one, but you could figure it out. It looks like a couple of trucks could look like from back in the 70s. So it's going to also have a sticker sheet for some headlights, a grill, tail lights, stuff like that. That's not made yet, but also has some blue aluminum on the chassis. Everything else is silver. The engine now is all black instead of red. It's also on the new V3, we're going to have 100 kilogram steering servos. So the stock ones used to be 70 kilogram, now we upgraded them to 100, so now it turns a lot easier, a lot better, a lot less strain on the servos, so they should last longer. Besides the tires and the body, this truck is basically the same as our Raminator truck. So if you want, you can get our monster truck tires, the big ones from the Raminators. You could put that on this truck and vice versa. You could swap these tires out and put those on your Raminator. They just bolt right on, same 24mm hex. And I'm going to slowly get this thing assembled and show you step by step how to assemble it. It assembles just like the version 1 and version 2 Raminators, but with some slight differences, but almost exactly the same. Alright, so when you open your boxes, it comes in 2 large boxes. Basically this whole big main truck is in one box with 2 tires, and all the rest of the other stuff comes in the other box. The axles and the other tires and the little stuff. Basically you get your whole front axle completely assembled like this. 2 wires just ready to plug into 2 wires on the truck. All your bolts and stuff for your linkages are already installed on here loosely, so you know what kind of hardware goes where. You go over here, you cut your zip ties that hold everything, and then you just figure out where it goes real easily. You can just look in the manual if you can't figure it out. Comes with sway bar links. They're real easy to install. The shocks, obviously. The calipers for the brakes, they're going to go right onto the ends of here. You just put that on like that. And then little caliper bolts, little springs for the cables, adjusters. You'll see all this in the video. Antenna tube, this is no big deal. This goes right on the radio box. Here's the back. Here's your drive shaft. You're going to slide those on first, then slide the caliper on. And then when you assemble the axle, this is the drive shaft pins go in here. You're going to want to put a little Loctite on that. They can come loose once in a while. These are different gear ratios that you could swap out in your transmission if you feel like it. It comes with, there's 5 different gear ratios. It comes with third gear installed, so it's like a nice medium gear ratio to do everything with. But if you did want to gear it real slow or real fast, you could use these 2, or also 2 different speeds in between those gear ratios, so you have 5 different combinations. Here's the rear axle, again bolts on just like the front one. A little simpler because there's no servos or nothing to deal with there. It comes with nice same radio as last time, really good. FlySky GT5. It's actually a 6-channel radio. Has the kill switch for the engine right here. And for the reverse function, you move this toggle switch right here. Comes with a nice lug wrench, automotive grade, and a little bit of tools in case you don't have any tools, but you should get some good tools to work on this thing with. And then there's a charger right here. That's everything it comes with out of the box. Alright, now I'm going to get to assembling this truck so we could really see how it looks when it's all together. This will be a quick video on how to assemble it. First thing I'm going to do is just install the rear axle, the rear drive shafts, and the brakes, and I'll show you how that looks. Okay, I'm going to get ready to install the drive shaft onto here. So I put a little bit of anti-seize. I don't know if you can see it there. I'm going to smear that around a little bit. That's so when you do have to ever take it apart, it doesn't get like rusted on there, because this could rust a little bit and then get really hard to pull off. So a little bit of anti-seize on there is great. Also, right before you put this in, do a little trial fit with this where it slides in and out. Sometimes when it slides in and out, it'll be perfect, like that. You want that. But then if you turn it 1 degree, 90 degrees, and put it in, sometimes it has a slight bend to it, a slight difference. Oops. It could actually be a little tight right here. This one's perfect, no matter how you put it in. But some will be have a little stiction here, and that could free up, that could tighten up, making the suspension be a little stiff and get stuck at times, because it's right where it needs to be smooth there. So you want to put a little bit of grease on here and make sure you got a nice smooth feel before you install that. Alright, so I installed the rear drive shaft, the caliper, and then put the whole axle on. You can see when you do that, you want to make sure you get these cone washers, one on each side of the links. Also up here, small one on the outside, the big one on the inside, and the beveled part in. So you do that on all 4 links. The first thing, before you put that on, you do want to slide the drive shaft. Actually, you want to slide the disc brake onto the rear drive shaft. Then install the rear drive shaft pin to hold everything on. Then you're going to slide this disc brake into the right position where you could get this caliper on. Sometimes this disc brake is loose, sometimes it's a little tight. So if it's a little tight, you got to keep wiggling it until you get it into the right position so you can line up your 2 caliper bolts that mount the caliper. I'm going to do the cables later when I have the front assembled. I'm going to do all the cables, I'll show you that. But so far, looking good. I installed the shocks real easy. Bolt on top, 1 bolt on the bottom, and I also installed the links, the sway bar links, the little set screw you put in here, and then a little Loctite on that, and then also 1 bottom screw going into here, Loctite that. Most other screws you don't really have to Loctite. The only other ones I really Loctite is the drive shaft pin, obviously, that big one that holds the drive shaft on, and the 2 little bolts that hold this caliper on. You can Loctite that, and then these 2 bolts, put a little Loctite on that, because these are all going into like just a threaded piece, so that could unthread. Where you have other bolts that go onto like a nylon nut like this, you don't need Loctite. Alright, so we got most of it together now, so you can see how it looks. The blue theme, the old school body, the new Mega tires. Looking nice. Almost ashamed to get it dirty, right? The whole front assembly just went on the exact same way as the back. I did nothing different, all the same thing you did in the back. We'll assemble the front. We're gonna put these servos into their harness eventually and do the brakes. I'm gonna do next. The brake cables still have to be hooked up, and I'll show you how that looks and that goes together. Alright guys, so here's the Mega truck without the body on it. There's no more red aluminum parts on this truck. They're all blue or silver, mostly silver. I just finished the routing of the brake cable. So that long cable goes on the back axle, the short cable goes on the front. And how to install those is you just take the cable part out of the cable, just pull that out of the black part of the cable, then put the black part of the cable in, then fish the end of this cable through while holding this little spring right here. Fish that cable through all the way over until you get to this spot right here, and then you're going to put the cable right into this hole and route, and make sure the metal part of the cable, you're going to get your fingers and push that metal part of the cable through this little hole, and then it's going to go all the way through to the servo horn adjustment. And you're going to do the same thing with the front cable. And then what I noticed once I routed both of them all the way through is that the cable was barely sticking through here. You can get the collar on, but it's a little too tight and there's no end. So what I did was I actually cut about almost an inch, I'd say, of cable off just the black part of the cable. I left the metal part of the cable long, so I pushed that back through. I cut this off with just like a, cutter pliers, and then I fished it back through, and now that gave me a lot more cable end, to spare, so easier to hold or grab if you had to, or if you want to put another stop collar there, you could. I installed the new stop collars that we upgraded for this truck. They're a little bigger, a little more heavy duty than those little tiny ones we had on the previous trucks. And that's it. And then if you want to adjust everything, you want to do that once your radio is on, which I'm going to do right now. Alright, now I'm going to test the electronics, how it comes from the factory, see if it's in the ballpark of adjustments. What you want to do is put your 4 AA batteries into the transmitter, and you want to plug there's a Dean's connector inside this battery box where your battery is. So take these 4 little screws off. Might want to charge that battery first, make sure it's topped off. Then just plug the Dean's connector in and put this cover back on. Make sure you don't pinch any wires while you're putting that cover on. Be careful. They try to fall out a little bit. Just make sure they're inside. Alright, then you're going to put your radio on. And then you're going to put the battery box. The whole truck goes on like that. And all your servos should be working now that the voltmeter's on. If this is in the on position, if you don't want to look at the voltmeter, you could shut that off. Leave it on. The kill switch is right there, blinking red. You want to test that. You get your radio. You want to push your 3rd channel button, and when you push that button, it should turn green. There you go. And if you want to turn it red, push the button again. That little thumb button, that's the engine kill switch. If the truck's running away and about to hit somebody or something, you could at least hit that button and it'll shut the engine off. Alright, so I got the brake cables installed. So now we're going to just test the steering and the brakes. So I'm testing the steering. Feels real good. These new 100 kilogram servos that this truck has a lot of torque. So you're talking 200 kilograms of power now on the steering. It's basically turning these wheels at a standstill just about. You don't want to do that though. That really puts a lot of strain on the servos. So when you are driving, try to only steer the wheel a lot when you're rolling a little bit. It takes a lot of pressure off the steering. So now we're going to look at our brakes. When I give it gas, that just goes forward and it does nothing because it's hooked up to the same channel as the throttle servo. So now you can see as I give it a gas, see it's giving a throttle. That looks good. And now brakes, if I go the other direction, starts to pull on those collars that we put on. As it pulls, it's pulling on the brakes. It's nice and tight right there. You could even, try to roll the truck and then put the brakes on, and then all of a sudden the truck will not move. And it's working. You could adjust manually even from here how much more tension you want on the front or the back. If you put a little too much on the front, and not much on the back, and hit the brakes hard, it might end over the whole truck over. So you could try to put more brakes on the back a little bit and a little less on the front, and it'll stop short without that hazard of making it tip over the front. And so if everything looks good like that, your throttle is going nice to full throttle, brakes are going nice to full brake. You could also adjust your reverse servo, but that you really won't know. You'll see it work when I hit the 4th channel up here. You'll see that reverse moves like that, or it pulls it down to go into reverse. So you just want to leave it in the up position or neutral position, which is, it's a 3-way switch like that, and the neutral position will be forward, and then if you make it pull down, that'll go into reverse. It might not only go in unless your engine's running or you're rolling it, so you might have to just give it a little bit of gas sometimes, let it help go in, but that's it. So that seems to be working. Like I said, we have to make it start running till we know what's going into reverse. That's it. If you do need to adjust anything, if the truck's pulling to the right, to the left, You could just do the manual steering trim right here. That'll fine tune the wheels. Also with the throttle, if it's you know, giving it too much gas, and you could see that this cable, like right now, it's completely off. As I go to reverse, it's not moving, so that's adjusted right. You don't want it to be here. See how it's giving it a little bit of gas? You don't want it to be doing that. You want to make sure when you go to neutral on your remote that it's not giving it any gas. And also you want to make sure your brakes are not on when you're in neutral, so you know, with the controller just sitting there, make sure you could roll the truck. You want to be able to roll the truck back and forth. You don't want the brakes to be on, wearing them out all the time, so make sure that adjustment's good. So it's just a little bit of common sense, you know, when you go to run the truck, kind of check everything, make sure it's all kind of working smoothly. You don't want any grinding or binding. Like if something's weird like that, don't run the truck, you know, don't figure it out, try to figure out what's wrong, and then, you know, go from there.